there are some familiar faces and names in the group, and so nice to see some old friends and meet some new ones. I wish we were all together in the same room. However, we all are situated in Mi'kma'ki, I believe, and I just want to echo Joe's sentiment and territory acknowledgement. And in particular, just to highlight work in math, I think it's a really important acknowledgement to make, to recognize that math has come to us through many cultures and generations of work across the globe and across our country and across Mi'kma'ki. And the more we can recognize the contributions of our Indigenous mathematicians, the richer our classrooms will become. One example I like to give, just keeping in that vein, is the work of Betts and Rosenberg from Manitoba. They evolved the medicine wheel into a problem-solving wheel that helps us think about problems to really understand them, but it gives us an invitation to try something, and I think that's often one of the big stumbling blocks for our children is what do I do? So this gives us permission to try something, try anything, and then to ask yourself some questions. Did it work? What's not working? And then try to make it work. And all the while, if you look at the spokes of the medicine wheel, you'll see that we need to be thinking and talking throughout the whole process of problem solving. So you'll be seeing some problems today, and if you would like to try some of them out, that would be fantastic. I'm going to just encourage you to try something and then ask yourself those questions to see if it worked and see what's not working. And maybe the manipulative will help you move it along. So that's just an example of why we make the territory acknowledgements, to bring a spotlight to some of the contributions that are so valuable in our country. So today we are looking at virtual manipulatives. So I planned out enough material for about 3.5 hours, and then I got an email that said I only had 1 hour and I need room for questions and comments. So this is going to be the speed talk version of virtual manipulatives in the classroom. Remember, you have access to this presentation whenever you want to see it and go over it, and you can listen to the recording if you want to, but all the slides will be available for you. After we see each virtual manipulative, I have a slide that's called What's the Buzz? And that's just to give us some ideas about the benefits and challenges of each of the sites that we're going to visit this afternoon. There will be time for questions and comments. Joe will keep me on track, and we will have time to talk just before we sign off at 2 o'clock. So let's get started with a sign in. I like to use the chat box and create a burst in the chat box. So I have 2 questions for you to answer in the chat box, if you wouldn't mind. First of all, where are you located today? And if you can be specific, you know, Truro would be good, Antigonish would be good. Keep it as specific as you can, and then maybe tell me what's your favorite math manipulative. What's your favorite math manipulative to use in the classroom, virtual or concrete? It doesn't matter. Let's just take 1 minute for people to type in that chat box and see where people are today.
Rapid fire here, Evan, so I'll try to keep up. I already missed one. Don is in New Minas. I missed a couple more. Jill is in Fall River, Angela in Spryfield, Teresa in Hammond's Plains, Robin in, I'm sorry, Eastern Passage, I think it was, Allison in Dartmouth. Trudy likes Cuba Links, Donna likes Cuisinart rods, Kathy's in Valley, Lisa's in Antigonish. I know I'm missing some. Teresa is in Place Value Blocks. Gordon, Foam Base 10 Blocks, he's from Truro. Mary in Dartmouth, Base 10 Blocks, New Minas, Halifax, Fall River, sorry, I can't even keep up to the names. Cole Harbor likes algebra tiles and measuring tapes. Angela likes Rec and Rec. Nikki is in Bedford and likes animals, food, and vehicle colored counters. Lisa is a big fan of Base 10 Blocks, and Kelly is in Windsor Junction and likes number lines. Sorry to those that I missed.
That's fantastic. Well, Good reading on that one, Joe. And I could hear lots of manipulatives that we're going to see virtually today. So that's going to be good. I didn't hear my favorite one, my personal favorite one, but I'll get to that in a second. I don't need to remind you of the importance of using manipulatives, whether they're concrete or virtual, in the classroom. You wouldn't be online with me today if you didn't believe in some way of the importance of these manipulatives for our children. But just to underscore this, a quotation from the National Council of Supervisors of Mathematics, providing some leadership in math education and reminding us of this importance. So let's just jump right in, because here's my favorite math manipulative. I like these number cubes. Some people call them dot cubes. Some people also call them dice, and I know in some jurisdictions that's not a word that everyone gets to use. So whatever you call them, they do help us create numbers. They help us with games of chance, and I'll just switch over to my Toy Theater link so you can see just a little bit what it looks like. Here I get to choose what kind of dice I want and how many I want. So if I want two 6-sided dice, I can throw those and I can get my total as many times as I want to. I can create more dice. Next time I toss, more dice are created, and I also like these 12-sided dice because you can get a lot more numbers. So lots of fun and lots of creativity there too.
Excuse me, go along with,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but we couldn't see the, I don't know that the link took us to Toy Theater. We couldn't see the dice or that were rolling. Seems you're frozen, Evan. Can anybody else hear?
I can hear you, but Evan froze.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you're back, Evan. Yeah, you froze there for a moment, but I think we're good now.
Okay, I'm going to try to. Sorry about that, folks.
No problem.
We are on a tab that says Toy Theater.
Yeah, is it throw with a number of green dice?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me change the dice back to our 6-sided dice. There's my 2 dice. I'm just going to give them a toss. Pretty simple to manipulate. If I want to have a few more dice, I just change the number. Now I can have four numbers show up randomly. And of course, my favorites are the 12-sided dice. So when I throw those, these are good for the generates just some higher numbers for us. So I can also change the number of dice on that one too. So lots of possibilities there. And Toy Theater also has a spinner. And hopefully you can see the color spinner. I'm spinning right now with 5 colors, and it will spin. I can change the number of choices for colors, and I can also change to numbers. So a very useful, quick and easy teaching tool that Toy Theater allows us. Now, if I go back to this one, I'm back in my presentation, I think. So an activity that you might think about would be something like build my number, rolling some dice or some number cubes and generating those numbers so that we can create 2-digit, 4-digit, whatever numbers you're looking for, and then see if you can change those numbers around. I'll just switch over to another version. There are some options for virtual dice, and this is from Google itself. Allows me to add in more dice if I want to. You can see that I have a running total there. So if I roll my 2 dice, I always get the total. If I'm tired of my 6-sided dice and I want to go to my 12-sided dice, maybe I want 2 of those, it will still always give me my total. So just another option for a virtual dice setup. We'll head back over here. Those of you who have worked with me before know that I'm a big fan of the enrich.maths.org site out of Cambridge University in the UK. Lots of games there to play using some number cubes, some dot cubes. This particular rich task is called Dotty 6 and gets us playing almost a tic-tac-toe kind of a game, but we're filling in the game board by rolling our cubes. So you can find these games pretty easily online, and you have the virtual tool to play with. There is a YouTube video there. When you look at the presentation later on, you can see somebody playing the game so that you can get a sense of how that works. So what's the buzz for my virtual dice and spinners? Well, I asked some student teachers that I work with at the university. I also asked 2 teenagers that I live with and have been living closely with during COVID, what they thought about these virtual manipulatives. Here are some of their comments. For the virtual chance tools, you can pick the number of sides you want. This is a benefit. Another benefit is that it calculates the totals for you. Some people saw that as not a benefit, actually. The calculation is done for you, so you're not using your mental strategies to calculate. So some people saw that as a drawback. But there were cool sound effects for the dice, and people appreciated that. So another site from the UK that I have been looking at quite a bit is Mathsbot.com. Here's Jonathan Hall. He's the creator, and he maintains this site and adds new tools and manipulatives all the time. He's got printables there that he shares. There are puzzles and starters and lots of teacher tools for you to look at. If you haven't been to Mathsbot.com yet, take a look. You'll see a wide variety of manipulatives. These ones range from the secondary school down through to the primary school. So you can see we've got our 2-sided counters. We've got a counting stick. We've got our base 10 blocks. And if you live in the UK, you know that you call those the DNS blocks, named after the creator. We have our Cuisenaire rods, and we even have some dice there as well. It's pretty extensive, and Jonathan Hall has done a really great job of keeping these, maintaining all of these and adding to them. The number frames you see are very popular in the UK, not as popular in North America, but they're pretty amazing, amazing tools as well. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see that he does give you lots of things, lots of handouts that you could use. We're working in a virtual world right now, so maybe not as useful these days, but something to keep in mind. He also has added in some of his own puzzles that he's created, some apps that, or little applets that he has created to create puzzles. And something I've used and very useful for teachers is something called his question generator. So it gives you random questions depending on the content and the level that you're looking for. I was a little worried when I saw this this next section that he's created called Starters and Drills, because I thought, oh no, Jonathan, keep us on working with the virtual tools. Don't let us do drills. And some of them are kind of drills, and I wouldn't recommend those to any of the teachers here, but I would draw your attention to the number of the day starter, which he uses to open a class that gets students to think about a number of the day and to represent it in a number of different ways. The same thing with the number square. So those are also some good starters for your classroom. You can see that he's got a wide variety of tools as well. This Catania tens chart is an expanded place value chart, very useful chart for seeing place value. So you can you would find that very useful. People who like to have place value tables in their classroom. These can be put right on the screen. He's done a new number line. He's just added that number line in, and you'll see some other number line versions coming up that I'll show you, and just some other tools, I think, maybe for the upper, more into the middle school and secondary classrooms, but nonetheless, quite a wide assortment of tools and activities. So another game that I like to play with my two-sided counters is the game called Count to 20, or another version of that might be called Take 13. So if you look at Mathsbot.com, if you look at their two-sided counters, you see these are always really easy to use. All I need to do is drag them in, and I can use my arrows at the top to copy as well. So that kind of speeds things up if I need to. If I want to delete something, the last thing I added, I can delete it. I can put a yellow one in there too, and I can also flip all of those so they change color, which is important, or I can just flip the last one that I did. In the UK, we don't, it's common to tidy up your area. So when you click tidy, everything kind of disappears. There's also a random button, so I can put in some random counters, and it will change those colors for me without any organization to it. If you were in the middle school or looking towards some higher level algebraic work, you can use the sign tool, and you can change these to positive and negative, which is great too. Let me go back.
Evan, do you mind if I just slot a question in?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. Allison is wondering, and you might have just answered it there even, where do we find double-sided counters? I guess these are sort of double-sided when you can assign positive or negative to them, but
yeah, I think these are already two-sided. So because I can change the color of them, so they do flip if you like. So I can turn them over just by clicking on the flip, or I can flip all of them. If I flip that one back to red, I can flip all of them at the same time. So they become two-sided in that way.
Sorry, if you don't mind, I would just follow up there. Allison says, I mean, what site do we find this site? This is still Mathsbot?
Oh, yes, sorry. We're still in Mathsbot.com.
You might be muted, Evan.
Am I still on? Let's see. Can you hear me?
Evan, are you muted possibly?
Yes.
No.
Oh, you can hear him.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. We'll keep going. Yeah, so simple games like counting games, these kind of manipulatives are really valuable. The 10 frame, you can see, allows you to add, if I want to add a red counter, I just click the color that I want, and I can add those colors in right away. If I need to have maybe double 10 frames, I just change the number of rows, and that way I can maybe count all the way to 20. In this game, we want to be the person to say the number 20 down in the last box, and you're allowed to count by 1 or 2. So if red starts, red could count 1, 2, and yellow could take over and count 1, 2, or maybe red just wants to count 1. So you can share back and forth the counter, and this particular game gets you to fill up the whole double 10 frame to find when you land on 20. Just keep going here. Because I wanted to show the DNS blocks. Some people call these the base 10 blocks, and we'll just make sure that you see what these likes. We're still in Mathsbot. I have found base 10 blocks in a number of virtual sites, but Mathsbot does a great job of doing my blocks in different colors, which I think is really important these days. These slide easily, and they also copy, remember, just by pressing the arrows. So if I want to show 12, maybe I want to multiply 12 times 11. I can easily slide in my 10 times 10, my 100 block. I can slide in my 10 times 1 rod. I'm going to have 2 of those on the bottom because I've got 10 times 2, and I've got 1 over here on the side, and I've got 1 times 2. So I'm going to need a couple unit cubes down here. You can see how easily these slide into place. And we know that inside this grid, I have my product. So the base 10 blocks are just as easy to use as they are in the concrete model. The exchange button, if I highlight something, the exchange button changes my rod into 10 unit cubes. So I can do my exchanges very easily with those. Moving on, what did we think about Mathsbot? Well, there's a wide variety of choice here. You've got almost every manipulative possible, which are most useful, teachers felt, if you already know how to use the manipulative. So there are not a lot of instructions given. Some people found that the use of UK language was not helpful. I kind of think it kind of expands our knowledge, but you just have to be aware. Sometimes they have different phrases than we do for some of the math blocks and for some of the math content. Again, there's no instructions, so teachers would have to provide some additional supports, and there would be some additional time needed to learn all of the tools that are available in Mathsbot. It's such a huge site. One site in Canada, if you want to make sure that you're using a Canadian tool, is from the Ontario Association of Math Educators. These are called the Mathies, or in French, they're called les clips. I'll just go to the site so you can see what that looks like. If it opens up here, I'll share this site with you. So this is from Ontario. And you can see right away that it starts with some upper level manipulatives, some graphing calculators, for example. Not what we're looking for the lower elementary, but you can see color tiles popping up, which are really useful. You have your Cuisenaire rods, which in Ontario we're going to call relational rods, or in this case, decimal number rods. We've got some fraction strips. I was just going to show you we've got our money. You'll know that the Mathsbot site has UK money, so now we've got some Canadian money. There's a valuable notepad for sketching for students. There's a good number line as well. I'm just sliding down to something that people have used concretely, but maybe not virtually, and that is called the Reckon Rec. So one drawback from the math site for now is the use of Flash. So if your computer is not accepting the Flash player, you may not have success downloading. However, these virtual tools do download beautifully on smartphones. So if you're going to be using a handheld device, the Mathies are probably your best option. So you can see these are going to function in very much the same way they do in real life. We can add extra Reckon Recs if we want to. We can add a screen so that we can hide one side if we want to. We can lower that screen or raise it depending on what we want to hide. They have a toolbar which allows us to hide a bar from students if we want to, or make it visible. We can change the color if we want to make this we want to differentiate this a little bit differently. We can change the color of our beads as well. So a very useful tool. One thing that Mathies has done well is given us some writing tools as well. So I can write on my screen at the same time with my just with my pencil, and that that allows students to record as well what they what they have done with their tools. Mathies also lets you take a picture. I won't click on the picture icon right now, but it allows students to capture exactly what they've done, and that can be submitted. I know that was a pretty popular tool during COVID, during the spring, as our young students were doing their work and taking pictures of their virtual work and handing it in to teachers using their phones. So here's a question. Here's a rich task that you might see in the Nova Scotia Curriculum Guide. I adapted a little bit because I'm sitting on the Northumberland Strait right now. So you can imagine the sea monster living out in the water, a group of creatures, and the total number of legs was 84. Each creature has the same number of legs. We're trying to figure out how many creatures there are. So let's just take a look at the number line. I get to choose on my Mathies number line which number I want to end with. So I know that I want at least 84. So I'm going to choose my 0 to 100 number line. And I have some options here. So I might want to show some hops and some jumps on this number line. So I can create my first jump. Let's say there's 84 legs. So maybe my sea monster has 42 legs, and I'm going to need another jump to get to my 84. So if I jump all the way across here, another 42. My creatures have a lot of legs. Let's just slide this back so they match up. I've got two creatures. They both have 42 legs, and I've met my target number, which is 84. Let's see. Maybe those creatures only have, maybe they only have like 7 legs. Right there. You can see they just, the jumps just slide right up. I can do another jump of 7. Let's slide it over so that I'm jumping from one number to the next. You can see now I've got 2 jumps of 7. I've landed on 14. How many jumps of 7 will it take to land on 84? Well, I can keep counting. I can use these hops on the number line. Here's another activity from Enrich using our Cuisenaire rods. This time we're making squares out of Cuisenaire rods. So let's take a look at Mathies to see what our squares might look like. You can see I can choose, oops, share this tab. I forgot. I hope you can see decimal rods, relational rods, and whole number rods. I like to use the ones that are that don't have the numbers because I like my students to remember the size of these rods just by the color. I know the pink ones are 4, so if I put 4 pink ones on my screen, I know that I have my square 4 by 4, and it's probably going to be my 5 rod that helps me create my next square. So let's bring out some of these. I can rotate them and slide these into place. I'll just copy that one. It's a lot faster. And voila, I have my new square. Let me take you back to the Cuisenaire squares. So you can see that these squares are easily created using the virtual manipulative, and it helps me describe the pattern. What's the buzz about Mathies? Well, they are available across devices and work really well on phones. So if you're going to have one thing on your phone that you can carry around with you, I'd suggest those Mathies. There's a wide variety of tools. So what I did on my phone, I just created a folder and put all the Mathies right in there. I didn't show you the short how-to video, but these manipulatives come with a short little clip. They're about 2 minutes long that shows you how to use the tool. So that's really helpful. We haven't seen that yet. And they also have some printable resources for you. Just a caution there, the downside, you can see that you'll need Flash Player to run some of those games, and some computers are not running Flash Player. And I believe by the end of December, Flash Player will no longer be available. So Mathies is moving all of these tools over to a different platform. So we'll have to stay tuned, sign up for their newsletter, and you'll be able to download the new versions once they become available. Now, many of you have probably been to the Math Learning Center. The Math Learning Center has a wide variety of tools as well. These ones, again, they're starting to look familiar. We have a number line. We've got our number blocks, but now they're called number pieces. We've got some 10 frames. They're called number frames. Here we have a rec and rec again. We have a fraction tool. One of the most popular tools on the Math Learning Center is the GeoBoard. There's money, but this time it's going to be American, and we've got some pattern block shapes too. So lots of choice there. Let's take a look at one of our rich tasks and see what they're asking us to do. Using the number frames in the Math Learning Center, we might want to have students think about multiplication, thinking about the 10 frame with multiplication. Let's take a look at these 10 frames. Maybe you can start to think about comparing them to the previous 10 frames that you saw. In this case, I'm given choices with 5 frames, 10 frames, double 10, and 100 frame. So if I choose a 10 frame, I might want to fill it right away with 5. Oops, I'll drag that over. 5 of my blocks, they go right into the frame. If I want another frame, I can just slide it down, but maybe I'm working in something which is more like a lower elementary. So I think I'll choose my ladybugs because I love my ladybugs, and we'll join up those ladybugs with some, let's say, how about some frogs? In my world, frogs are green today, so we'll put in some frogs over here, and they'll slide in. Oops, I want you to go right inside there. Not going to do it. Okay, we'll get rid of you. We'll put you in the trash down here. And we'll add those frogs. There we go. Okay, so again, with our Math Learning Center, we have got a writing tool and a text tool, which is really helpful. So in this case, I can write my numbers right away. I can change the color of my pen so that I can coordinate my numbers and my colors, and I can do my addition, subtraction sentences right there on the screen. There's also a nice writing box. We can write down and leave a text message right on the screen as well. Oops. Put it right on top of that. Sorry about that. There's your eraser tools. Again, we can add more of our frames if we need to. Okay. We'll skip. Oh, I won't skip over this one. This is just so you get to see the GeoBoard, because Enrich has another task about making triangles on a GeoBoard, this time making triangles that have only one dot on the inside. So just to give you a sense of what that looks like with our Math Learning Center, I can choose my elastics. I can stretch these. I can stretch them out to make, sorry. I'm going to make a triangle here with one dot on the inside. there's one version. So this has been one of the most popular geo boards that's available. I can change the size fairly easily. I can make it into a circle if I want to. This 5x5 seems to be probably the most useful. And again, it has my writing tool, so I can write on top of my geo board, or I can just highlight something if I need to. All right. Back to the buzz. What's the buzz about the Math Learning Center? Again, it's available on all devices. Oh, and something I didn't show you was that this is immediately shareable to Google Classroom. So it links beautifully. There's a link right on the screen to share with your Google Classroom. So not much instruction is included. So you need to know about the manipulatives first. But the more you play with them, the tools are pretty intuitive. Looking at the Math Playground, I think a lot of us have been to the Math Playground before. And we can see, I'll just give you a quick view of there. They've even got some summer math games here available. Not as much manipulatives as actual games and apps to play. However, the shapes and graphs probably have the most benefit from the Math Playground. Some of the tools that are available, the pattern blocks and the geoboards, are quite strong and easy to use, as are some of these tools. The reflection painter, for example, is very popular. The Tangram tool gives you some instant images that you can create using Tangram. So while they're not as heavy on virtual manipulatives, they are really popular with small games and some tools that you can use in your classroom. I chose a couple to play today. I won't take you to them right now, but they are really important for building spatial sense. I found the playground is probably the best place to go if you're looking for spatial sense activities. These are easy to play and create some really incredible images, especially the reflection painter. Back to the buzz. What's the buzz? Well, these games are all play-based, so they're organized by level and topic, which is really important. Easy to find. There's also a Google Classroom button that you can share instantly with Google Classroom, and they do give you the essential skills that are used in each of the activities. Overall, teachers and students found this to be the most engaging and fun website. Hard to stay on just one activity. They do give curriculum connections, but they are Common Core, so people found that a drawback because it was American. Though again, it's kind of challenging us to look at our own curriculum and see where our curriculum fits. Okay. Let me see where this takes us. Geogebra. Aha. Geogebra is well known for its middle school and secondary applications, though they do have some elementary school activities. These are all made by contributors around the world. And if I just go to the classroom resources, you can see that there are over 300 already elementary school math activities. They're sorted by grade level and by strand, which is useful. You can see that they start off, fairly elementary with 2-digit numbers. Getting a fraction app to help us see fractions and some ratios and some more fractions. Again, it's getting into upper elementary and middle school very quickly, multiplying fractions. Now I'm in the middle school, and by the time I get to the bottom, just on the first screen, I'm well into secondary school. So you can see that it gets pretty intense pretty quickly. I did do some digging around in the elementary, and I found a few apps that help us visualize mostly number sense and fractions. So there are some, but you do have to do some digging when it comes to GeoGebra to help you find ones that are appropriate. Oops. Sorry. So the one I looked at briefly was called Adding Numbers to 20. Again, it gives you some good early number sense work. It is a timed activity, so there was a little bit of stress added to it, though if you get the answer wrong the first couple times, it does give you some help along the way. In terms of fractions, they do give you some visual pictures of fractions. There's not a lot that you can do with them, however, so not quite as helpful as some of the other sites that we've seen. GeoGebra was really useful for its color tiles, however. Let me just show you the color tiles so you know that this one, I think it's this one, the color tiles. This one I thought was more useful than the other color tiles that I saw at Mathsbot, mostly because you get your pen again. So whenever you can have, you can write on the board, it's more helpful for students. So here again, I just click on my color tiles and I can place them wherever I want to. And again, my pen lets me, loop things and write on it and point to things. So more helpful than some of the other tools that don't include the writing tool. Again, I've included the enriched tasks along the way so that you can go back and see what the rich task is asking and which tool you would like to use to represent it. What's the buzz about GeoGebra? Well, it is organized by level and topic, and there's a really wide variety of activities. It's so diverse, however, that it takes you a long time to find things. So one drawback, it's difficult to find the manipulative and the activity. Another link that you can create with your GeoGebra, however, a big plus that some student teachers thought, you can create your own classroom in GeoGebra, which helps you use those tools and gives everybody access at the same time. So along with your Google Classroom, you might have a link to a GeoGebra classroom as well. We'll have classrooms in so many places, people won't know where to find you. Very quickly, I'll take you to Toy Theater. We've been there once already. These ones, the first time you visit, Joel Gaspard was the CEO and founder. He's working out of Ottawa these days, and he's created a number of these games that help us play some number line games. So very quickly, I'll just start my number line. I've got to move my yellow kayak along as quickly as I can to find out where the next escape is from my kayak path. And I think I have to -2 in this case to get to my 8. Great work for students in their early facts, and keeps you moving. I wanted to make sure I got to the finish line first on in this one. His games are usually timed and a little bit stressful, so just to keep that in mind. What teachers find more useful, however, are the teacher tools. So let me just show you what the Toy Theater tools are all about. There's, again, a wide variety. You're going to see lots of similarities from the other ones. A lot of teachers prefer these ones because of their simplicity. There's the dice that we and the spinner that we looked at earlier. We get the tangram and the pattern blocks again. We've got our place value charts, which are so useful. The rec and recs are there. We've got our color squares. Again, just a really rich, wide variety of manipulatives for you to choose. Let's see. Another game that people can play. I won't take the time to play it right now. Again, you can see it keeps your score, and it is another timed activity. So if you're not interested in the stress of timing your games, then I would stay away from those ones. The toy theater, the pluses are really suitable for the P2-3 classroom. There's a lot of choice, which is fantastic, and cool manipulatives. It's all play-based. People commented on that, which is really valuable. But the timing of the games added stress for people, so that was a downside. Mathagon, 2 more sites to visit. Mathagon, perhaps you've been to before, is referred to as the textbook of the future. A lot of people are liking the Mathagon Polypad, which is what you'll see in a second. Because of its pattern block tools that are right here, we've got another version of base 10 blocks. They're called number tiles here. We've got our number bars, which are really helpful, our fraction bars, our algebra tiles for the upper grades. We've even got some pentominoes and some tangram activities to play. So some great tools there, and really great visuals from the Polypad. As well, Mathagon gives you a number of activities, including their, let me see, oh, it's not listed here. It's their timeline of mathematics. There it is right there. So if you're interested in the history of mathematics and the people behind mathematics, they have an interactive timeline. There's access to the Polypad right there. There's a factorization game. There's exploding dots activity. There's virtual origami, problems and puzzles, Alice in Fractal Land. Simon Singh has his own parallel site that gives you, I think it's weekly math problems to solve and all kinds of applications for math. So a really rich site. Again, it's from the UK. But it's a very dense site. Not enough time today to go all the way through it. But the buzz was really strong for Polypad. It's amazing. So the teachers really liked it. Great for the pattern blocks, tangrams, and pentominoes. History of math comes alive. And it is probably the majority focused on upper level elementary. So not as useful for the lower elementary and still a little bit UK focused. Okay. And finally, I'll take you to the Didax site. This is one commercial site that Kathy Richardson contributes. If you know her assessment work, she contributes her work here with our virtual manipulatives. This is a paying site. The virtual manipulatives are free for now, but there are there's probably going to load lots of ads here because it's going to want us to buy things. Access to the shopping cart. And one tool here, again, you see some very familiar tools are the Unifix cubes. So if you're looking for actual virtual Unifix cubes, these are the ones that that might be useful for you. And Rich gives us a cool Rich task again. You might think about using those Unifix cubes to help you solve this bowl of fruit problem, trying to figure out how many apples we have if half of them are half of the fruit in the bowl are apples, plus there are 3 oranges, 2 pears, and bananas. You might use the Unifix cubes to help you model an activity like that. What's the buzz about Didax? Well, very simple, straightforward manipulatives. Teachers found them to be the most straightforward of all. The instructions and activities are all provided. They're very lifelike. It's click and drag, so you can use them very much like you would use concrete. There's no pen included, unfortunately, so you don't get everything. So while you have great visuals, you don't have a writing tool. And there is some commercial shopping on Didax. So it's the only commercial site that I included on there. But it's because the teachers found them to be so simple and straightforward that I thought you might enjoy them. So if I roll the credits today, you've been to Didax, you've been to Geogebra, Mathies.ca, Mathagon, Math Learning Center, Math Playground, Mathsbot, Enrich, and the Toy Theater. Now you know why I had about 3 hours planned for activities, but I decided to give you more of an overview of what's available. These were reviewed by student teachers in the Faculty of Education at St. FX and by my own 2 teenagers, and these were the ones that rose to the top as some of the richest sites available. So if we have time, in the chat box, could you write one website that you will bookmark for the fall that you'd like to use right away? Maybe you met 2 math folks along the way today that you'd like to follow on Twitter. And maybe you now have your top 3 new favorite virtual manipulatives. Feel free to write in the chat box if you can. Thank you very much for listening. I know that's a lot to take in, but you also have access to the presentation with all the links. And you can go back to those and follow those links along. Thank you very much. I know we have a few minutes for some questions and comments. And Joe, perhaps you could moderate that if you can see the chat box.
Sure, I can give you a list of Toy Theater, Mathies, Mathbots, Toy Theater. One says too many, they're all great. So much, thank you so much, Mathbots, Toy Theater again. Mathbots again, Math Learning Center, Mathbots.
That's great. I think people will find once they get into Mathsbot, they're going to find that they're pretty much everything they need is right there. It's going to be a personal preference once you start playing around with some of the apps, because some of them will be more friendly to you than others. But if you choose any one of those 9 sites, I don't think you will run into any difficulties. If you're like me and you like to draw on your screen, I like to use my iPad and share my screen with students so that I can actually draw with my pen on my iPad, and that way they can see it on the screen as well. So if you like the drawing tools, then you might want to gravitate to those sites that have the drawing tools.
Throughout the afternoon, Evan, there was a lot of buzz in the chat line there. I didn't want to jump in as people were commenting, but there was certainly a lot of great comments coming through there as people were seeing different tools, and there's absolutely something there for everybody. And as you say, eventually you'll find your favorite. Exactly
so. And I won't apologize for dumping all of that at once, but I think this might become a tool that people can go back to, and they might not remember it all right away, but if they go back to one of the slides, they'll have a quick refresher. Plus, I don't know if you noticed, but every site has 2 or 3 written tasks associated with it already. So if you're not sure what task to use, I've given you some suggestions. And of course, if you haven't been to enrich.maths.org, then that's a site that you will enjoy to find some of your own tasks. I can stick around here if anybody wants to ask me a question, and I know people have places to go too. Thank you all very much.